it's something. It was something I read. It was like the Pareto principle, which is like 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Dude, yeah.
And then 20% of your results come from 80% of your efforts. And I was like, I read that and I was like, huh, that's pretty interesting. And it comes true in so many different parts of my life where it's like the things that I focus so heavily on is like ends up being like, oh, it didn't work exactly the way I expected. But then the opposite is also true. So I was just like, let me see how, if you know, like, and that's the other thing, like, even especially with investing, it's like the more effort we put into it, it just seems like the worse things are. So it's like, dude, the more we try to like time things, the worse it gets for us.
Exactly, dude. I feel like, and that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. I feel like a lot of the newer investors who've been in only since 2020, in 2020, it would have been easy to come to that conclusion that the more active I am, the more money I make. Because it's like every single thing is going up like parabolically, like every day kind of thing, you know? Yep. But it's like actually in the long term, like that's not the case. Like, in fact, I would encourage most people to like just put money in and throw your phone away. Like, just never look at it again kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude.
Yup.
So
that's literally my like. So that's literally my like my mom and my mom wanted to like finally like get her stuff situated, and I was like my mom doesn't do anything. All I told her was like, oh, just do this and put it in the market and forget about it.
Yeah.
And she outperformed me trying to pick stocks and do all of this stuff, and she just destroyed. It was like the most basic, like laid back way of investing, and it was just like that really like cemented it in my head because I was managing both portfolios, and I was like looking over her stuff to like help her set it up. And I went against my own advice in certain ways and did a different thing for her because I was like, I got to be as safe as possible because, you know, retirement and all this stuff. And I was just like, I saw her portfolio and I was like, so this stuff actually works when you just leave it alone for a really long time and you stop tinkering with it all the time. Yeah. It actually really, really works. And so that cemented it in my head of just like, you know what? Automate the thing. And just don't pick it up. Don't look at it. Just let the thing ride.
Yeah.
And if you let that thing ride, you give it enough time. Time is your best friend when it comes to compounding. And so you just let that thing ride. You have enough of a time gap, especially for most of you also that are watching this, and most of us we're all around the same age. We got time, so there's no rush. And I think that's the main thing. Is like when we're young, we're in such a rush. Like I gotta have this thing like right now, and it's like, do you actually need it? Like, come on now. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. I guess following up with that, do you have what would you say is your biggest investing mistake of the last 2 years?
Biggest mistake. I would say the biggest mistake I made was ignoring the things I knew not to. It was ignoring the fundamentals and just going with the hype or buying into the hype.
Interesting.
So, like, I'll say like 2020, I really like that's when I really like started following a bunch of different YouTubers and following everybody. That's how I found your channel, and I was just following too many people, and you know everybody has their own thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, that guy said something about this stock. And, you know, I was just kind of getting blown with the wind and going all over the place. I mean, at one point I was buying, so I knew like ARK. So when ARK was flying high,
yeah,
I knew going into it, it was dumb. Like I was having a discussion, you know, Tolu, right? You know, Tolu.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was having this discussion with him talking about like why this is a dumb reason to buy into this thing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I'm still going to buy it. It was like, this is so dumb, but I'm still going to buy it. Luckily for me though, I was able to like get out flat because I like, I got into it and then I was just like, okay, I'm out. Because I read a couple of excerpts and a couple of blogs where they were talking about, this is why most investors don't make money, even though they buy into like ETFs or mutual funds or anything, because we usually buy at the top.
Yeah.
And then because we buy at the top, things start to change. The strategy may not work for the manager anymore. And then all of a sudden things start going down and then people just start panicking and they sell out as well.
Yeah.
And so So when I thought about that, I was like, oh man, I need to figure out something. So I sold out of that and went back to like my basic stuff. But like at that point in time, I was all in on like listening to Jeremy from Financial Education and a bunch of other guys that were just talking to them. Like they were all talking about the same things basically. And it was always like these small companies. And I, at that point, I hadn't put two and two together of like, look, this guy is a millionaire. Like he's got money out the wazoo. So when he talks about putting $20,000 or $30,000 into a stock, that's a very small percentage. That would be like me talking about I put $200 into a stock. It's not going to make a major difference in the long run.
Totally.
But after that was like my biggest mistake of just following the herd for the most part. Just being like, oh yeah, like everybody is hyped about a Palantir or Tattooed Chef today or whatever it is, and just being like, let me just follow with them and buying into the story. I mean, I would even say like, even though Dropbox treated me well, like I did well with Dropbox. Thank you, by the way, for that. That was from you. Thank you very much. Made a nice little percentage on Dropbox.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. But even that was a mistake. Even though I made money on it, even that was a mistake because I didn't really do research on it. I didn't really understand it. I didn't really have a conviction around it. I just bought it because Trey said it was a good stock. So I was like, sure. And just jumped into it. And so that was like one of the mistakes. And it was like really calling. Like it was literally, I spent like a good, like 2021, especially after the GameStop saga, like I spent a good amount of time just being like, okay, who do I actually want to be listening to on a regular basis? So there was a bunch of channels that I was just like, nope. Like I unsubscribed a bunch of people, unfollowed a bunch of blogs, and followed a bunch of people on Instagram because I wanted to like curate what was entering my head. I wanted good information coming in my head, and a lot of people were just not doing that because, like we talked about earlier, no fault of their own, they have to feed the beast that provides money for their family, and so they got to create content that people will watch to feed that beast. So, and I was like, that's cool. But I don't have to be a part of that. I can be a part of being wiser in the decisions that I'm making. So that's probably the largest mistake that I made 2020 to 2021 when it just got started. So
good, man. That's cool. I think that's a good lesson. And I think a lot of people probably haven't really learned that yet. I did a video actually about Jeremy, and I've learned some stuff from him. And I think if I lived in Vegas where he was, it would be great to chill with him and be buddies and stuff like that. I don't dislike him. But in the video, I was like, there's a few different things that you guys need to be aware of. Number one, he makes probably like high five, if not six figures a month from YouTube. So when he's like, oh my gosh, all in. He says all in for everything. But when he's like, oh my gosh, all in on Tattooed Chef, I just put in 200 grand into Tattooed Chef. For most people, it's like, wow, all in means 100% of everything he has. He's just put into Tattooed Chef. Oh my gosh, I should get in. It's going to go up. But actually, you know, if you step back and look at his portfolios and his action over time, he doesn't mean 100% of his funds ever are going into Tattooed Chef. And 200K is like, you know, the average person putting in $200 into Tattooed Chef. And it's a dangerous kind of game to play. But that's one of the downsides about YouTube. It's like you have to do extreme crap to get clicks. And a lot of his audience loves it, you know. It was interesting seeing the feedback that I got on that video in the comment section. A lot of people were like, wow, good points. I never thought about those. But a lot of people were like, F you, Jeremy is God kind of thing. It's like, okay, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm not sure that's going to work out for you long term kind of thing.
That's definitely true. I mean, I think I watched that video, and that video was like, that was part of like the process when I was going through of just like, I have to be very much. That was right around the time where I had just like started removing people off of the sub box, and like, before that, I was subscribed to every single one of his channels. Like I was watching everything all the time. Yeah, and I mean, it just gets to a point where you have to like you said, like you have to be realistic with what it is that he's saying and what it is that he's doing, and put it in perspective. I mean, he made a video at the same time, the other thing that I liked about Jeremy was, even though he made those videos, he also had videos where he would talk about like, yo, guys, be careful. Index funds are a good thing to be buying.
Yeah.
Make sure you're taking care of your finances. You're paying off. Like, he said all that stuff. But at the same time, you know, it's hard. Like, a lot of times when you make 1 versus 100, at the end of the day, the 100 will always outweigh the one video that you make talking about like good personal financial habits.
Exactly.
And so like, it was just like,
nobody wants to click on that anyways, right?
Exactly. And so he's not getting the feedback that he needs to make more of that type of content. So he's just like, all right, like, I'll make it once in a while, but it's on you to figure this out. And he's also like, I already made that content. It's like an old artist. It's like an artist who's been around for a long time, who changes his style up. Everybody's like, oh, we used to like your old music. He's like, well, that's fine. Go listen to the old music then. It's still there. Type of thing. Like, the music is still there. You can still watch those old videos, but he has to do what is in mind right now, what is in present. Like, YouTube is not about like, oh, I make great videos, which is still good. Like, one of the things that I'm learning also is like, good, green, evergreen content is great as well. But sometimes you got to make content for what's happening today and right now.
Yeah.
In order to like at least pick up some of those viewers who'd be like, you know what? I like the way Trey presents information. I like this thing that he talks about sleep well at night because he lives in Japan stuff. I kind of like that a lot. Like, let me latch on to him and learn more about his process and learn more about how I can do this. So, but you know, I always think of like the Bible verse with Paul where he says, I will be all things to all men so I can win a few. And it's like, in the same way, and if we want to teach people good habits, sometimes we have to go to them where they are rather than asking them to meet us where we are so we can figure that stuff out. Otherwise, we're just like, we're kind of wasting our time, essentially.
Yeah. It's tricky, though, because, like, I'll do videos. I'll try to put together videos of, like, hey, guys, this is, like, war in China. Or, hey, guys, the Fed is doing this. Or, sorry, not war in China. China and Taiwan. Or Russia and Ukraine or whatever. And people are like, who is this Putin guy on the thumbnail? I don't get it. It doesn't pump me up. And I'll get, like, 5 views on that video, you know. But if I'm like, Palantir to the moon, I'll get, like, 3,000 views. And it's like... You know, and then people will come back and talk smack and be like, why did you buy skills? You're so stupid. Oh my gosh, I bought it because of you. It's your fault. And I'm like, dude, like, all of the videos that I've made, I talk about how skills is like 2 or 3% of my portfolio. You know, I'm like, did you buy anything else? Did you buy Intel? Because Intel is like, or did you buy AMD, which doubled this year? Like, why are you going to only pick one thing and make that your whole portfolio? That's like the best way to guarantee failure, dude. Yeah.
That's, I don't think, like, people have, I think part of it is just like, I think part of it is like, people have a warped view of what success looks like.
Yeah.
In the sense of, I think we all do. In all honesty, I think sometimes I have a warped view of success as well.
Yeah.
And just like, we see people, Elon Musk make these super bets of like, yeah, I'm just gonna go all in. Like, he sold his old company and buys Tesla and is all in on Tesla and all in on SpaceX.
Yeah.
Or we look at people like Mark Zuckerberg and it's like, oh, he built his entire wealth with just Facebook. And we all think like, I can do it too. But the things we forget is like, we're not Mark Zuckerberg. We're not Elon Musk. We're not these guys.
Yeah.
Who essentially built massive businesses that we use every single day. And it's like, we have to just come to terms with just like, this is who I am, and accepting who we are more than anything else. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to do that, of just accepting like, this is where I am. This is who I am. I don't have to fit some narrative, or I don't have to match up to other people's things.
Yeah.
And just, you know, to be successful in my own way.
Yeah, dude. And I feel like, like Wall Street Bets, there's a lot of interesting dynamics that have come out of Wall Street Bets. But one of the things that I think really jacks people up is, well, first of all, the idea of loss porn, where people will post like, dude, I just lost my whole I just lost my whole net worth on like, you know, FDs that, you know, options that expire like tomorrow. And I went all in on it and it didn't go the right way. Now I'm screwed. And people are like, dude, lol, that's awesome. Keep it up, kind of thing. That's one thing. But then the other thing is the other side where people are like, dude, I just turned $80 into $80,000 in like 2 days. And people think that's a reliable, dependable strategy. And then they're just dumping $80, a week, and it never ever works out. And they're like, investing's stupid. It's like, dude, we got to start with the fundamentals. You got to learn how to crawl before you learn how to walk, before you learn how to run, before you learn how to do a triathlon. Like, yeah.
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 That's facts.
Yeah, dude.
That's a big thing. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah. But it's tricky because the whole idea of Wall Street bets, like, there's never really been a forum where millions or tens of millions of people can make a decision together and then impact the market so drastically as Wall Street bets and GameStop did, and so there is validity, and I think a lot of the people have experienced some kind of gains, some kind of victory from being like, oh, I read this thing on Reddit and everybody's going all in on AMC right now, so I'm going to do that. This equals like a sound strategy, or this equals, big money or success or whatever. And it's not always going to work out that way, and I think after that works a couple of times, and I mentioned this in the Jeremy video too, once the hedge funds or the big money know everybody is watching what Jeremy is going to invest in, or everybody's watching what's trending on Wall Street bets, they use that information. And now they can, and for example, like I think I mentioned this in the Jeremy video, like if Jeremy's saying, I'm just going to buy this thing until it goes down to $5, with Tattooed Chef or Cruiser or whatever, or Cruisy Doozy, whatever it is, the keyboard maker or whatever.
I don't.
Yeah. If he's declaring to the world, I'm going to be putting like $500,000 into these stocks permanently forever, even if they keep going down, 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 other people are like, dude, that's free money for me to take. I can just short this because Jeremy's going to be putting in at least, this much money into it. I just short it and then buy back. And it's like, kind of the bigger the YouTuber is, the harder it is to actually get value out of their moves, because the hedge funds are watching these things now, So it's really tricky. And that's, I think, one of the advantages of watching smaller YouTubers who actually do good research. Yeah.
Yep. That's facts. I mean, even if we take that from a Jeremy YouTube level to like somebody like Warren Buffett, there's something called the Buffett bump. And he had to get like the federal, the Treasury, was it the Treasury or the federal, one of the big people to like give him a gap to be able to like not announce, because now if you manage a certain amount of money, you have to announce it. All the big hedge funds have to announce their positions and everything.
Totally, yeah.
But like if he's building a huge position in like Apple, for example, every time he's about to buy into something, he has to like tell like, hey, can I get an extension before I announce any of these moves that I'm making? Can I get a longer extension? Because there's always a Buffett bump, and he doesn't want like, I'm buying it for these cheap prices, but because I'm buying it and other people know I'm buying it, they're gonna rush and buy it too, and then now I'm lost. I can't buy it anymore. And so I mean, like strategy. I mean, and that's the other thing is like strategies go in and out of favor all the time. Yeah. It's like meme stock investing was all the rage. Like SPAC investing, you had the meme stocks that first started, which went from stocks to crypto memes. And then from there, then it became SPAC investing, where every SPAC that got announced exploded in price. Then we had EVs for a bit, so it's like, strategies work for a little bit. And if you're not on top of the trends, which is why I can't do it, because I got if you have a full-time job or you're a student or any of this stuff, like you can't keep up. There's no way you can keep up with all the different moves to know like, okay, where's the crowd going next, to be able to get all the money out of it. Oh, they're over here. Oh, okay, cool. Let me run over. It's like, that's a lot of work that you have to put into it. And I'm too lazy. I'm just be 1,000. Like, I'm just too lazy to put in that amount of work to just make stocks where, on the other hand, we can just buy a stock and just wait. It's like, all right, cool. If I do good research, I'll be good.
Yeah. So and that's the low stress way to do it. Yeah.
The interesting.
Yeah.
Facts.